One who is able to see the referent as it is without being influenced by one's referent realities is someone who has realized his original self.
Oh, that's brilliant. I wonder whether you really meant one's referent realities. You have written down that, right?
Yes, I've written down, yes.
Now I read it once again.
One who is able to see the referent as it is without being influenced by one's referent realities is
Oh,
someone who has realized
all right. Okay. Okay.
his original self.
Now,
Yeah.
now, what is the central orbit of your idea?
Central orbit is the ability, one's ability, inherent ability to see something as it is,
Two.
irrespective,
Ah, that
irrespective of
irrespective.
the state of mindset one is in.
Yeah. So, out of these two, which one is more critical? You are indicating two dimensions. Okay. What are the two dimensions?
Yeah, one
One
is
is
about the external object or something that is being observed,
all right. Two.
and the other is about the mindset with which we are observing.
Yeah. Which one is more critical?
The mindset with which we are observing.
Yeah. Mindset meaning you use a much more clear term without being blocked by the referent realities of oneself.
Yes,
Mindset involves the referent reality. Referent
yes.
realities of one's own. Every individual comprises the mindset.
Mm.
One's personal history, one's experiences, one's memories, one's worries, one's pains, one's problems, one's other considerations. All these are the reality linkages of the individual. We have not done the
Yeah.
reality linkages of the you in as an exercise, which I really wanted to. Proceed from violin, the variant, invariant, orbit, linkage, intentionality, network, the dimensions of the you. That is a referent reality. A very beautiful statement, Anuradha,
Oh.
because this much clearly there are a lot of books, perhaps you might have heard or seen. See things as they are. A lot of people are talking about it. Everybody is wondering. The critical thing is the second aspect which Anu mentioned. They are all seeing actually what things as they are, but their interpretations are completely regulated, restricted, contained within the framework of their referent realities. That is the problem. I know why all of you have gone out of video.
Some your internet connection might be slow. That's the reason.
Oh, I see. All right. What another said is a very, very, very critical turning point idea. What is the critical turning point implication there? Can anybody say why it is so critical?
Because it is the mind that perceives the things,
Yeah,
and
all right.
usually it happens that we perceive things as we are,
Yeah,
not as they are.
all right. Agreed. Okay, that's what Anu said. I said
Yeah.
it has very, very significant implications for you, the genus choice group individuals. What is that?
We are not getting influenced by others or the surroundings.
Go on, go on. Yeah, that is true. Much more critical, more very, very critical. Go on talking.
Like our
Go on.
reference realities and perceptions should be firm and correct. We should be firm in our referent realities and its perceptions.
Yeah, everybody is. That's why they see things in their own way.
So, can I add to that, sir?
Once again, I am clarifying Mandra Rishika. What Anu said, or what I want to choose out of that is I said there are a lot of philosophies about seeing things as they are. A lot of people are talking about it. But I think the readers are wondering. I have gone through wondering what is these things they are. Okay? The thing that is there is, for example, like girl standing alone. Yeah, girl standing alone. Yeah, she's beautiful, she's young, she looks okay on cross watching, she looks apparently uh, sort of depressed. She's standing in a beautiful highland valley where anybody would feel wonderful, etc., etc. What is more than that they are? And more than that is what, for example, William Wordsworth has written a masterpiece about. That is the referent reality linkage of the capability of what you call William Wordsworth. Anu is going little more beyond that. You have to go even, you have to transcend even your poetic reference reality. The referent reality of William Wordsworth, the dominant aspect is that he is a poet. Anu is telling that you have to even transcend that, throw away that also. In fact, that is the sun also. Anyway, uh, that idea, I suppose all of you comprehend it. Now I am telling that once again, the perspective right now in our consideration that one has to transcend the one's own referent reality. That means one's own realities, which include the mindset, the body set, etc., 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 so that you can see the so that you can see the referent reality of whichever under your attention. Then only you can see. That's what Andreas is mentioning, and that's what I also 100% clear about. That's why I am asking you a question: why it is very critical for you, Mandra Rishika, Mandra Rishika, Amaya Rajarshi, for everyone of you, very
So
important.
this is yeah. So this might be critical because when we are trying to become mystic leaders or genius
Course, wonderful.
self, yeah,
Because all of you are talking about the referent outside. Okay, good.
yeah.
The examples I gave are referent outside. Things falling, water overflowing, girls standing alone. But there is water overflowing within you. There are lids moving inside your boiling pot. There are things falling inside you. And you look at you from the available referent reality which you think that you is. I cannot do that. I don't remember that. I am this. I am that. I have this. I have that, etc., etc. They are the dominant part of the referent reality of the great majority of the people in the world, clearly implied by the statistical normal distribution principle. This we have mentioned, of course, the reality of so-called objective reality of the you. Let us say there is you're born in a certain house, certain parents, certain schooling, certain environment, certain media, certain culture, certain community, certain beliefs, certain values, certain doings, etc. etc. Yeah, there is. Why should you belong to that? Get out of that and take a jump to the unknown. Or, that's of course not this here. Look at the record reference. There are so many references that invite your attention too, but you don't notice. Your the referent reality perception of the you is still corrupted by many of the mindsets, mental blocks, doubts. Doubt is the major thing. Rigidities. Fear of failure, fear of humiliation. So you want to live in a world where there is no failure possibility, where there is nothing strange, where there is no humiliation. In a comfortable setting, in the lap of the mother, you are comfortable as an infant. Okay? Is that so?
Mhm.
Even when every blade of grass is facing its threat every moment. I am looking at the grass in the ground in front of my house. The neighborhood people are coming with their goat and even sheep and then cows. Any blade of grass may get trampled under its strong foot. Anytime it may be chewed up.
Mhm.
And still, I see certain parts of the grasses remaining there intact.
Yes.
What about the destiny of the other grass?
Swami,
Yes,
when you said that, I have a doubt.
yeah.
So, what if the destiny of the grass that were chewed up were served a greater purpose than the grass that is actually existing and not eaten?
Yeah, that is, of course, much of a higher level question. But when I said this example, I was pointing out the other aspects.
Oh,
That
okay. So,
even grass has to survey against the threats. That's what I wanted to focus. But what you
okay,
said
yeah.
is the next level point. Yeah, of course, you say the grass that got sacrificed and became the organic survival requirement for another creature. All right, of course, it's sacrificed for a greater purpose. That is true.
Okay. I'm sorry, I went out of context a little bit. I'm sorry.
No, no, don't worry. That's a good thinking, no doubt. But the number one thing is one has to sacrifice for oneself.
Yeah,
If you look
okay.
at the world, the great mediocrity, they are not ready to sacrifice for them because of varied reasons. There are people ready to help other people. There are people ready to be sympathizing to other people, empathizing other people, guiding other people, helping other people do their hard work, helping other people to shift their homes, buy food for them, uh, buy clothes for them, buy gifts for them. They travel for distances. They're ready. They so-called sacrifice their sleep, their body, like in the Islamic tradition, they are ready to die for others.
Mhm.
Wonderful. Great. But had they sacrificed 1 hour every day to read and understand their own Qurans and Bibles and Gitas, then every one of them would have been evolved. And did a much better sacrifice, okay?
Okay, so,
Much, much greater sacrifice of contributing something to the world. Much greater consequence of one becoming enlightened and competent.
yes.
What is the difference between the guy who got first rank and the guy who failed in the exam? Ready to sacrifice. Sacrifice the easy interest of going for films and going out and moving around with stupid people and whiling away time looking at the internet and playing internet games and watching televisions and so on and so forth. Arjuna was ready to sacrifice his warrior spirit. But Arjuna said, you give importance to what is to be done, the referent here. The referent here is some unprincipled people, which you agree, which many people agree. Very logically, some unprincipled people are going to take control of the people, I mean the nation, of the country, of the province. Would you tolerate that? Of course not. Then take the bow and shoot. So do not look at things from your referent reality of doubts and anxieties and fears and prejudices and biases and duplicated, imitated knowings and things like that. Then you are, then then what? That is defeating the very purpose of this program, very purpose of your statement of purpose, which of course may not include all these things with all the cases. Look at your own body, look at your own mind, look at your own knowings as just a referent. All right, okay. Then what? All right, next observation by anybody else on
I
this
have
point.
an interpretation,
Yeah, all right.
which is from the perspective of being a yogi, as in the one who practices yoga.
Okay.
So, the image of his own self being his body, and considering parts of a person's or one's own body or the processes of it, of one's own body as with equality, whether he is in pain or pleasure makes him a perfect yogi.
Finished?
Hello?
Did you finish?
Yeah,
You said something, you asked, or you asked something.
I said that I said something.
All right, okay. Reconceptualize it once again. Reconceptualize it.
Uh, so when a
Or say it again, I mean.
person treats
Don't
different,
try don't try to recollect what you said. Say whatever you wanted to say again.
yeah. So when a person looks at his body or different parts of his body or the process of his body with equality, whether at the time of pain or pleasure, he becomes a perfect yogi.
Oh, wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah, great, great.
Oh, that is brilliant.
Exactly, sir. Right.
All right. Very good. Okay. Yeah, yes. Yeah, yeah. You have anything more or anybody else?
No, that's all I have to say.
All right. Then anybody else? Anybody? Any other observation?
Sir, I have a doubt.
All right. Come on.
It says who sees with equality everything, then there's a comma, and then in the image of his own self.
Hmm.
I didn't understand in the image.
Yeah, that's a beautiful doubt.
Yes, I have same
So,
doubt.
why don't you try to? Why don't you try to apply your creative sensitivity to that? It's a very critical point in this word setting. Of course. Come on.
So, okay, so he who sees with equality everything, and the subsequent two parts are what can possibly be everything. The first possibility is in the image of his own self. Means he is looking at the contents of the image of his own self with equality.
All right. Go on. If you say you are not talking anything wrong,
Okay.
what do you feel?
I think that is the meaning.
And don't say that is one of the meanings. All right. Yeah.
whether in pleasure or in pain, then also he is seeing everything with equality. So that such a person who sees with equality both those things is considered a perfect yogi.
All right. Okay. Not just everything else. It must include the one's own self also.
Yes.
Inner self, not just the pain and pressure of the body like Mandra mentioned, but the self also should be uh, like that, with equality. It's a very important point. I mean, why don't you explain that? What is the significance of that? Especially the one's own self part. Why it is significant? Because people are not able to feel one's own self also with equality. You know what does it mean? Sometimes feeling good about oneself, sometimes feeling bad about oneself, sometimes feeling competent about oneself, sometimes feeling stupid about oneself, sometimes in ecstasy, some and other times in agony. You know? Treat equally. That means when you said that, just as one of the points, do not reject your pain and anxiety and fear and all that. Accept it. Oh, yeah, yes, I have a fear. When you fight against your fear, it multiplies. When you fight against your doubt, it becomes stabilized. That's the principle of creativity therapy also. Just don't talk about the things once again. Go to the next step. Similarly, you know, do not divide yourself also, for example, into many compartments, equal to everybody and equal to one's own self. Yeah, I said as an implication, great majority of people, they do not want to have, they are scared about being afraid or worried, etc., etc. They don't want to have, because I am not supposed to be worried. I am not supposed to have doubts. I am not supposed to be like this. So they reject and repress it, Ashwati. So don't reject. Yeah, not publicly. When you have a fear, you go through that fear. Yeah, I'm afraid. After 5 minutes or or 1 hour, it will go. Don't reject that fear. Don't reject your aggression. Don't reject your anger. Rather, don't fight with your anger, your emotions, etc., etc. Just accept it and allow it to flow through. In fact, this is one of the methods of psychotherapy. Okay. This is a consequence of having what you call inequality in self-perception, Asadi, resulting in repressing certain part. Okay, the so-called bad parts are all repressed. They don't consider it. That's why when somebody points out the negative aspect, so-called dysfunction aspect of somebody, that person does not accept it or tolerate it. They feel that person feel defeated, humiliated, injured, dispirited, irritated, angry, etc., etc., etc. From one dimension to the other, either that person would go into depression, or that person come to a neutrality, or that person would become aggressive and non-cooperative to the one who pointed out the defects. So that person is not ready to consider it. So just it is kept aside. Like old clothes and spoiled clothes are kept aside and aside and aside because of the difficulty to wash it. And one day everything is together dumped and something is done. A lot of examples are there. Similarly, it happens inside. What happens outside, what are the doings of outside, will have doings inside also, corresponding inside doing also. These are all implications which I incidentally mentioned, Ashwati. That's all. It's a good point which you mentioned. Okay, come on, next one.
So just one more question.
Yeah, oh, why not?
When you talked about I mean, not talking about the negative things, on the one hand, you said it is repressed, but on the other hand, you said in psychotherapy, just don't keep talking about it. So is that also not ignoring the
No, that's a good, beautiful question. People repress it and keep it. As a result of which, they become mentally imbalanced, and then they go to a therapist and they will go on talking in the whole story. Okay. So in creativity therapy, it will not be allowed because that will prevent the reinforcing it once again. On conventional psychoanalytic therapy, that will be bring it into the open and we make the person accept it and then to resolve it.
Yes, sir.
Get the point. So I was talking about the strategies of dealing it, not publicly talking about it. It was from a therapeutic perspective. All right. Anybody else? Any other observation about this slide?
Yeah, one observation after you,
Yes.
after you, Meenakshi.
A perfect yogi is one who has transcended value judgment for himself and for others. Therefore, a perfect yogi accepts himself and others.
That seems like a general statement. If you have to interpret it, in which way you're talking about what? Judgment. So how that is connected with this? You have to do that. They are talking some other orbit. You have to go proper linkage, like I talked about therapy here, by proper linkaging. So if you are linkaging an altogether new concept of judgment, especially value judgment, you have to say what is the connection between, what is the linkage between value judgment and the contents of this slide. That statement you can anyway make even without this slide. How the concept, significant concept in your point is value judgment. So how that significant concept of value judgment has linkages with this given data.
The slide talks about finding equality whether in pleasure or in pain, which is a kind of value judgment. So,
Which is a kind of value system?
not value system, a value judgment.
Judgment. Which one is a value judgment?
Calling something pleasurable and calling something painful is a value judgment.
No, no, no. It is an experience. It is not a judgment.
Okay.
Seeing things unequal or different is value judgment.
Sir, I think
Yeah.
Meenakshi has
For
got
example,
some point.
uh, what is the value judgment in case of an individual feels very confident about himself on one moment or one day, and the next day if he feels thoroughly lacking confidence, what is the where is the role of value judgment coming there?
Confidence comes from a fact that you have done something well. So that doing has a value judgment. That is why you feel confident.
Who is making the value judgment?
The
You feel
person,
good. You feel good about having done a good class. You
yeah.
make a value judgment there. That's
No,
why
a
you feel
good,
good about. That's why you
no.
feel good about it.
I just feel good, but that feeling
Ah,
good comes from,
that's what I said. It is about feeling. Pleasure and pain is
okay,
about
yeah,
feeling.
fine.
It
I've
is not a
corrected myself. Fine. I'm
no,
not arguing with you.
no. I am talking because I am talking to Navin. He also reproduced that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Understood.
So does value judgment involve something to do with right and wrong?
Right and wrong, of course, value judgment.
Yes. Yes.
So pain and pressure will not have something right or
No,
wrong in it.
no. Pain because even a little baby expresses pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
Many right
somebody,
things
let
also
us say
happen.
you are interacting very nice with a person, suddenly he gets wild or something, and if he talks aggressively to you, you definitely feel it. You don't have to make a judgment. Now he said so. It implies this, that, etc., etc., etc. Oh, therefore let me feel bad. No, it's an automatic feeling generated by whatever stimulus structure imposed upon you by the other person. So value judgment, that word is very clear. It has its referent reality. What is the value judgment? For example, if you talk in an unrelated perspective, on what kinds of value judgments I'm asking now in Bihar, the upper class Brahmins are what you call intimidating the so-called lower community people. What is the value judgment there? What is value judgment? If you ask the value, they will not agree. They will say openly, even. I value human beings, Vasudeva Kudumbaga, Aham Brahmasmi, and they are the pujaris. Their values,
Yes.
they will never accept at all. Even
But they
when
are
you,
victim, sir.
yeah,
But they are victims of their
that is,
conditioned thoughts,
now whether
and
that
that's
you are
why they are
talking
making
something else.
judgment. Yeah.
There, what is victims of conditioned thoughts? That you can say. But there
Yeah.
is no value judgment there. Value judgment is that everybody is equal. Vasudeva Kudumbagam. But
Hmm.
Naveen is pointing out that they are feeling actually what you call behaving badly with so-called low caste is out of conditioning. That's
Yeah,
what
and many others, all
there
not
are many
knowing and
exactly
conditioned
many
thought.
other things, not value judgment.
But they
Value
are
judgment.
valuing, yeah, but they are producing their values or judgment based on these thoughts. That's why value judgment.
That's what I said. I am asking an example. What is the value judgment? What are the values being judged or values being given a role in an upper caste Brahmin intimidating a low caste person in Bihar? What is the value there? Dividing these two people and treating them in a absolutely unequal way.
No.
Is it based on a value? Not at all. In fact, the value maintained is exactly the opposite of it.
Yeah, but they are giving value to it.
Oh, that's a different value talking about now. That is not the value judgment which Meenakshi mentioned. No.
Mm.
If you make that, I don't know, you create the logic. Because that is the purpose. If you felt like value judgment is involved and if this is the reason you are giving, I, I, I just don't accept it. If you give us some other sensible linkages where the idea or the concept of value judgment can be linkaged with this but contents of this particular slide, if you can do it, how in which way value which is linkaged with this? Is it by value judgment that you feel displeasure about an anxiety or a worry or having a worry? Is based on value judgment? Your beloved person has cheated you, or or somebody is not doing things properly, you feel irritated. Is it because of value judgment? You feel worried about an impending or somebody made a wrong complaint about you to the officer which you never knew. You don't you feel pain, worry, or affected, emotionally affected? No value judgment there, not at all.
But those who feel it give value to it. That's their problem.
Is
Yeah.
that what you call value judgment? Is that the
Yeah.
meaning of the conceptions of
There
value
is
judgment?
judgment.
No.
There is judgment. Yeah.
Value judgment has a different sociological, socio-psychological, and psychological meaning. Not giving
Yes.
value, Naveen, that's a different
Sir,
aspect.
sir. Right, right, sir. That way it is not. Right.
In other words, if you give value to your idea that value judgment is involved here, then show that value. All right. So I'm reminding you about the 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 precision that is required when you make interpretations. All right.
Sir.
Come on. Next, any idea? Any other idea from this
One
slide?
sir.
So the last part of the this thing is considered a perfect yogi. It is not written
Hmm.
that he is a perfect yogi, but this is considered. Why that considered is there?
No, don't ask me to give explanation. It is a test for you. Come on, you explain.
Who considers, sir? I don't know.
No. No way, no way. Today it is a test for you. You say something, then we will respond. If
That
you
means,
ask her, if you have a question, if that is a question part of you, then you give the answer. Like Mandara Rishi had a question and she gave an answer. So if that is your question, you find out first, or let others find out. And if nobody can find out, then I may do it or I may not do it, because my job here is not to give you answer like a primary school teacher. Okay, that also is there. Okay, come on. That's a critical point. Come on, say what is critical about it.
that is, there is no finality that he somebody considers this this person as a perfect yogi. Need not be a perfect yogi.
That is implied there.
Yeah.
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 Is the person to consider himself a perfect yogi? Is that a self-assessment to be made?
Is
It
it a
could
question
be.
or a statement?
I'm asking a question to Veena because she said, who is the
Uh,
person who is
yeah, yeah, yeah.
considered?
Okay, okay, okay,
So
okay.
I'm
I,
answering it with another question.
I
Would
also
it be that the person himself has to make that self-assessment and there is no another who would make that judgment for you?
Or it could
Uh,
be one of the many considerations
Mm.
which needs to be arrived at to become a perfect yogi.
So I
That's the
have another
criteria.
question, Veena. There is a perfect yogi, then is there an imperfect one as well? Or is it a growth towards perfection? Implying that all of us are imperfect yogis in some sense and we are working towards our perfection.
yeah, we are all imperfect. That is why such a statement is given, so that we develop ourselves.
I have an
uh,
answer.
yeah.
Yeah, tell me.
He he is considered a perfect yogi means perfect yogi is a concept.
Yeah.
Just as something is considered a water bottle or a concept, we are only considering all concepts. So similarly,
That's more correct because, yeah.
So referent is the
In others, nobody else can be really sure about that. You can generally make a statement. Like Minashi implied in a way, finally, the individual himself has to know or recognize or realize self realization. That means the reality of the self is understood. So, in general, Krishna is giving some guidelines that if such and such a thing, so that feedback is required. I told you, human beings can know anything by feedback only, unlike cat or rats. So, when someone has achieved that level of what you call rock solid power about one's own self, he can or she can give the feedback. Yeah, I have reached it. Or certain experiences will give him that blind conviction that he is a yogi. That means yogi here means the one who has achieved tuning with the existential realities. All right. Okay. Hmm. Then anything else?
yes, sir. One, he who sees with equality everything in the image of his own self, whether in pleasure or in pain, he is considered a perfect yogi. What I see here is the oneness with nature process, whether be it big or small. You're seeing a reflection of itself in you and yourself in it.
All right. Of course.
And it is not colored, whether be it in pleasure or pain or situations, does not color it.
Yeah. Yes. Of course. Why? Because the everything else. Why that cannot be seen with equality normally? Do you think a little baby is doing that? No, only an adult person with a knowing. Why it happens?
You lose your referent.
That is the ultimate thing which Anuradha also mentioned. That is, how did you lose your referent? How attention to referent has been diverted? Yeah, I know. I already gave the answer in that question. Attention of that original child, that original self, that original perception has been systematically tapped and uh, tamed and trained to look at things with inequality. That's a beggar. Don't go to him. That's a neighbor. I don't like him. Therefore, you don't go. You are,
Yes.
you are, you see, look at that boy. He is good. You are not good. Okay. So it's a duplicated self.
So is it because language has come in between?
That is when I said language is the greatest wonder and the greatest tragedy. Greatest meaning single most tragedy of human evolution is language and Rasa. When I say now you people will understand. I have put it in the Facebook much before, 2-3 times.
Hmm.
Some people will
Yes.
just click like and all that. That I don't care, of course. I just do it as a pastime. Anyway, of course, Anu, of course. For example, Anu, this rural village people, why they are all living in peace of mind. Okay, I'm just telling you a simple, maybe a silly example of they are seeing things with equality. About 5 years back or so, 6 years back, first I started wearing sari and moving around in the house and outside the house. I'm like normally, if somebody move around in his dress, I would move around in sari. And the first time, I have seen so many women coming through this land looking at me and no expression on their face, okay? No re-looking at me. Then one day, some of them came close to me. And then I asked one lady, don't you see me wearing a sari and sit there? What do you think? They did not understand my question and they said, what is there? நீங்க இன்னைக்கு சாரி உடுத்து நிக்கிறாங்க அது உங்க விருப்பம். You like it, so you're doing it. What
Hmm.
a mind! I could not. I was pondering on that for several days. Even children, that is a notorious children here, really notorious in the sense that they would, what you call, I told you, often do catapult on the birds, and they do it despite my shouting at them. Okay, even those boys of varied ages, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 kind of range of boys.
Hmm.
Nobody, even because anybody can know, when you are looked at. No difference. That in continuity of that, I want to tell you one more thing. In Valanjambalam, Ernakulam also, I used to sit some days in saris. That is about a division again. Let us say most of the visitors, let us say not most, about 60% of the visitors would be females and 50% men. Every man, I mean man, male, every one of them looked at me with some kind of a bewilderment,
Hmm.
and 50% of them made comments, not negative comments straight, but asked me questions. But not a single female of any age looked at me with a surprise. Okay, there was a moment of pleasant surprise, but soon they were at ease and they were very comfortable. Then I realized that a man is so ridiculously, terribly, tragically obsessed about the female in every aspect, including the dress they wear.
Hmm.
Yeah, they are just not able to tolerate it. Of course, it may be an extreme example, but at the same, let me tell you, uh, twice one of them we cannot say clearly because one of them was a dancer. I mean, man. He really
Hmm.
appreciated it. And the other one was a painter.
Oh.
Except these two.
Mhm.
And see again a beautiful evidence of that lack of division of at that level of the so-called creative people.
Mhm.
Okay, coming back. Yeah, beautiful observation. Yeah, anything more? Come on quickly about ideas in this. Sorry, about this slide. Again, I am repeating about this slide.
Sir, I have one point.
Yeah,
This slide itself, by design, is a venue to train seeing with equality,
come
because
on, do it. What is that? Come on.
you have shown unequal plants in the background.
All right,
Yes, and so seeing
beautiful. Yeah,
unequal things with equality is
in nature.
yes.
Yes.
So yes.
Come on, interpret every signal. This is all and apply. And when you do this, don't take it for granted. These are the clues also to your creative originality. You have to look at your thoughts, like Mandra Rishika said. You have to look at your feelings and experiences and detach them. And when you do that, you will become detached, like Ashwati pointed out. Okay, and do that. Remind yourself because you are overloaded with concepts and perspectives. I know in the last 1 year. But once in a while, you go through your notes if you have written, and some of them you select. And every day before you go to the office or your workplace, remind yourself to adopt certain fundamental strategies. One, of course, what? Referent and referent reality perception of interaction with other people. I mean, ideas. Those who are having that. That I tell you in advance. Secondly, whichever you choose, because like Anuradha pointed out, language is the only medium of human so-called existence. So that you must always keep. It may not be all the time required, but that should be your way. Second, third, fourth, fifth, or whatever number of other perspectives you hold on every day, that is left to your choice. All right, come. Anything else from the slide? Anything else you want to say? Anybody else? Amay, Rajarishi, Mandra Rishika, anything else? Oh, you said something. Oh, you said something very significant. All right. Yeah, everybody said something significant. All right. Anybody else want to say anything else about this slide? Are you missing out something? Are you not considering something? Are you dividing? Are you not seeing the contents in the slide with equality?
We have not paid any attention to the sun, sir.
Wow, wow, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that statement is enough. And if you pay attention to the sun representation, symbolic representation of the sun in this, what are your sensitivities suggesting you to report?
The sun is equal in
Yes.
interaction here with everything else in that environment, be it the seed to the grown plant to the earth.
Exactly. All right. Yeah.
The
Then,
source of light is actually blank. The light is all around.
yeah. All right. Okay.
Sorry, what did you say,
That
Anu?
has a very great implication. Anyway, I don't know. Anuradha is making all these things. I have to talk more. There's a
Anu,
great implication in what you said, Anuradha. Can you say what it is? Great other linkages.
But
Implication,
what did Anu
implication,
say?
implication, explanation, interpretation, expansion, extension. These are all linkages. Okay, so it linkages straight to what?
Sir, what did Anu say? I missed that.
Repeat.
The source of light is actually blank. The light is all around.
Oh,
What is a beautiful immediate linkage that comes to your mind as of now? If you have been really listening to and reflecting upon what I said also, not today, what I have pointed out many times.
Satori.
Center
Don't
of
say,
wheel.
ah, don't say like that. Give that full sentence.
Can I try?
Do it.
So here we are talking about the path of the genius, and the genius is represented by a state of nobodiness from within, and that is indicated by the blank space inside. And yet, being a genius, he is able to enlighten and guide others, and therefore the ring of light outside.
All right. Okay. All right. Anything else? Good.
The core is absolutely blank.
That's what Anuradha said. You say in a different way. What is your linkage? Any extra linkage? That is, of course, another way of talking about the same thing. Good. But any other linkage, like Meenakshi mentioned, any other linkaging to a next variant idea?
Being a nobody.
Yeah, being a nobody, of course. Being a nobody is what Meenakshi also pointed out.
Okay.
Not
So
necessarily
the
about
original,
not necessarily about individuals. Make statements, make idea interpretations. Yeah, I'm not
it's
referring
about the
to
original
people.
self.
Yeah, yeah. Make it a statement. Make it an observation.
It's about the original self. The original self is devoid of all attachments, of all feelings. It's
Yeah,
blank.
go on. Yeah, go on. Good. All right, good. Next one. Next idea.
Everything is at the next orbit.
All right, beautiful. Can you explain it? What did you imply by that? That's good. Come on, say.
So the original self, to represent what Anuradha was saying, is devoid of all feelings, etc. That's a core. The next level of feelings and everything is from the uh, out next orbit, and it is with that the interactions with everything else in the environment is.
Okay. But in the beginning, you said the emptiness of the wheel and all that. Why did you leave it when I asked you about it?
So actually, I said it.
Yeah, all right, Vinay.
Yeah.
Oh, Vinay said that.
Yes, 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 sir.
Oh, okay, all right, all right.
In between, some ideas. I mean, someone was saying some other ideas, and I just let it.
Okay, now come on. If you now, why don't you explain what you said?
No, as Anuradha said about that, center is always blank. I just got connected with that center of the wheel, which is always vacuum, and which is the most important part of a wheel.
All right, okay, good. Anybody else? Anything else?
Sir,
Sir,
the light, the light of the sun represents the insight of the self, and as the the source of the light is blank here in the sun, so is the case with the self when you are devoid of thoughts, when you are devoid of any mindsets, then that is the real mind, real insight to see the things with equality. And
Then the
here
light will.
also,
Then that light
yeah,
will come out of you. Of course. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
here also
All right.
the situation is of blankness, of
Yes. All
emptiness.
right. Okay. Okay. All right. Go on. Anything more? Anything more?
this representation shows why a system cannot observe itself.
Explain.
Uh, because what the source gives out is not contained in the source or is not the nature of the source.
Okay,
Like a battery which gives out current does not contain current.
brilliant. All right, beautiful. So that what you said also has a great lot of implications for what? That what you said has a great lot of implications for your so-called Satori in Ashadi. Okay, that's all I can say now. All right. Anything else in the slide? Come on.
So
Any
it
other?
is
Yeah.
it it shows a seed, and we were discussing about the sensitivity, the centralmost idea. So it shows the sensitivity of the seed to water, earth, and of course air, and in the end to the light also.
All right. That's all.
Um,
What about the reverse also at the same time present? You're
okay,
talking about the
that
sensitivity of the
yes,
seed,
yes.
but much more sensitivity, cigarette detection is happening in the wonders of the so-called things which you said.
Oh,
In
okay.
fact, they are the sensitive. The seed is insensitive. Seed is almost insensitive. If it is just kept outside for some time, it is almost in the dying point. It is at the birth point. At the same time, it is at the dying point. So the seedness of the seed is identified by all that elements which you mentioned. They are the ones that are really sensitive, not the seed. Get the point? Of course, the provided the
Mm.
seed is in good quality. There's a great point lying there also, Vinay. When you become wonderful, when you become clear, when you become dispassionate, when you become capable of looking at everything with equality, when you reduce all your self-doubt and other kind of limitations, uh, when you become an impeccable seed, then automatically the other linkages will come to you. Then and then only. Great lot of people are just trying to grab opportunities, trying to grab things and all that because of the system facility. Actually, they think that it is their power. Because there are so many wonderful people who created enterprises, they go and try for their job, and if they don't get it, they complain about them. Because of the government, there are jobs. Because of the university structure created by creative people, they are able to study, etc., etc., and they get the work and they survive. And they think it is their great doing. No. Okay, that's a different aspect. Forget about it. Let them consider it as great. Of course, it is great because only really hardworking people can benefit out of that system. Also, anyway, that's important. But the critical point here is the seed, which you have not only now somebody has noticed it. It is so obviously present there. And a great lot of people naturally think that when you put the seed in the ground, it grows. Of course, it only grows, but that grows because of the wonderful sensitivity and the mystery and let us say the great blessing of the five elements upon it, showered upon it, depending upon its impeccability, depending upon its correctness, depending upon its quality, depending upon its ripeness. All peanut will not be used. Only purely ripe peanuts are chosen to be seed because only that will uh, be benefited. So you have to achieve your ripeness or your completeness. Purnat Purna Mudichyate. You have to be, what is completeness? Everything in the nature is always in doing. Human beings are trying for all the time comfort zone of not doing, and the entire world of technologies are trying to take advantage of it. And people like so-called what you call his name, whatever it is, companies like Tesla are the greatest tragedies of the modern times. Let me tell you, they are coming up with new and highly powerful artificial intelligence chips, by which in another 10 years, maybe even before that, let us say affluent people, they will be destroyed. All the so-called rich and affluent people, their tragedy is going to come. They will be destroyed, meaning not economically. Yeah. They will be like, let us say, pigs, PAGS pigs, what you call, nurtured in good pig centers in use. Absolutely good food, taken care of, everything. They'll be traveling in their own, what you call, electric planes and driving electric cars and doing everything in by the Internet of Things and uh, uh, and very quickly within 1 or 2 3 years of time, they will all end up in a serious psychological boredom called ENNUI, a suicidal boredom. And they are already the great majority of the so-called rich and affluent people all over the world are already living because of one and only one thing which the world is not sensing. That is drugs. Who is consuming all these drugs, you think? Somebody who gets an average minimum 2 lakh per month, only they can afford to have drugs because it is so costly. Or why drugs are also costly? Because they are all purchased and used by the rich and the affluent people only. In the past, so-called ganja was available for the poor people. Now they just cannot afford it because even I suppose some 5 grams and all cost $500 because they are all going to Chennai bank in India. I know that they are going to Chennai, Bangalore, Madras, Mumbai, Delhi, Calcutta, everywhere. And the drugs, LSD and all cost, some small LSD strip would cost around $10,000. So these are all just worries, just problems which I am concerned about in the future. Nothing important, let them go to hell, that's not an issue. But what I am telling is that that comfort zone tendency, that pleasure principle is dominating in human beings, especially today, especially the modern
Yes.
generation. Modern generation uh, of not even so-called reasonably rich people. Forget about rich people. Even ordinary people, even in this rural village where the parents are coming and begging me for 50 rupees, their children are playing around with smartphones. I mean, second-hand phones. I asked the price for 3,000 rupees, you will get a Samsung Galaxy, whatever it is. Second-hand. Individual who go to the field here and working, they are all above 70 years. They are young men, young sons, especially in the COVID times. I see 40, 50 of them at least. They just don't do anything. So that's a tragedy of the modern times because of some exposure to a delusory world. They are living in a world of delusion by looking at
Yes.
Facebook and WhatsApp and computer games and other things. Their mindset is in a different artificial world. They are not even aware of their poverty. They are not even aware that they have only some second-hand or very cheap quality Tirupur kind of a banyan shorts and shirt. They don't have a
Yes.
proper food in their stomach, but they feel some kind of an artificial time pass in skipping through the mobile phones. So the world is in a very dangerous condition. This I am telling you. I don't know whether you sense it. You are sensing only your local environment.
Yes.
The world is on the verge of a total collapse. Okay, it may not be perceived as a global phenomenon because there will not be any media campaign on that. But almost every individual is living in utter confusion and anxiety. And they are not minding it because their time is passed through internet and mobiles and uh, mostly mobiles.
Yes, sir.
Because even especially bike traveling and going around is not possible now because of COVID and all those things. They are all very surprisingly, even the so-called poorest of the poor people, all the
Hmm.
time they are on mobiles.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's all social so-called referent realities of the ongoing world around, which is so tragically deteriorated. I don't know. Oh. Anyway, you have to be sensitive to that, which will make you more inspired to do your work. Don't be like one of them. I mean, don't slant towards them. Don't get influenced by them. So-called collective unconscious. You have to be
Hmm.
solidly stationed in your purpose of life. Don't lose your hope. Within 2-3 years, situation in the world will be such that even you may feel like losing your hope. Okay?
Hmm.
Geopolitical situation, uh, community related, religion related situation, they are all depressed. That's why they are all psychological defense mechanism, acting out. It's a defense mechanism. Or displacement. A failure or depression at some place is shown outside. Acting out. Anyway, my life is gone, so let me kill somebody else or let me destroy other people. All these are already happening and it will be increasingly happening.
Yes.
All right. This is just extra points which I wanted to talk about. Come on, back to the slide, back to the contents of the slide. Anything else? There is something very significant for you there. Very significant for you, I mean, not in the contents. I mean, not a significant idea interpreted from the word settings. But there is an interpretation very required, very essential for you. All of them are essential for you, but this is the most critical. What is that signaled here?
So the roots of
Why you talk only about the roots?
uh,
Okay, what is the roots? Okay, tell me what about the roots? Yeah.
the bigger and the wider your branches grow, the deeper your roots should be.
All right, beautiful. Okay, one, two.
I have a statement to say.
Do it, please, madam.
Yeah, but it's not about what you asked right now, whether what is important for us.
All right.
I was thinking about it, but I'm a little bit doubtful about it, which is that because it is a little bit contradicting to what we're discussing right now.
There is no contradiction seeing everything as equal.
Yeah,
Hmm.
okay. Yeah,
Good, sir.
yes. So the colors of every picture and the slide in total is different. Like we have blue, green, red, black, brown, yellow, white. So uh, the I was thinking that these colors are not equal
Hmm,
or the same.
hmm.
But then I try to divert that idea into making them equal. And I came into an understanding that by equal, we don't mean to bring everything to a same point, but by letting them be where they are and appreciating that, and by that, making them equal.
Beautiful, of course.
Yes.
So that could be an interpretation for this slide as well.
Yeah, why not? Why not? Of course, that could be. That's why you did it.
Okay.
All right. Then, but of course, what Mandra did is an interpretation. Valid, of course, but I am waiting for an interpretation relevant for you.
Sir, the deeper and the higher we go, the obstructions are also increasing. In the soil there are larger.
That is your general understand. That is your understanding I'm talking about. Like Meenakshi talked about value judgment. No, you have to interpret here. Here, there is no evidence for what you say.
So in the image, there are larger particles towards the lower part of the soil.
That is true. But oh, how can you say that it is blocking or obstructing? But you could, if you could avoid, if you delete that word obstructing, you can make the same thing reconceptualize into a wonderful point. What is that?
The lower levels have.
Why again you're using very coincidentally your thinking is in the negative direction. Why do you say the lower level? You That's not what you said in the beginning. You did not say lower level, higher level. The deeper you go, you will come across much more greater realities, larger realities. By holding on to that larger reality only, the plant also will grow. Upper portion it is very peripheral. This is what you could have told by looking at this. Like a conventional example, like the glass is half filled. But you chose to talk about the half empty part. That's what you made. And uh, uh, that you have to be very careful, Ashwini. Okay. Because the one in which you see a so-called dysfunctional or slightly disadvantages or whatever ideas or perception or experience, there may be just on the other side of the coin something great hiding there also. Not also, most of the time. When you have a real problem in your life, you go through that, don't reject it, go through that, and it will definitely change. Variation is the central principle of the universe, and then you will come into the successful turning point, so called. But you reject it, you fight with it, you curse it, you negate it, etc. etc. By which your distance, your speed is slowed.
Yes, sir.
So always try to see the greater side of things. I'm not telling that you see the greater side of a rape or a murder. I'm talking about the nature process realities and including some of the thoughts and experiences and feelings of the very you too, internal reality. All right, come on, next. But this is not about you. You made again an observation on the slide. That you can make again. That you have already done. Now I want you to just identify what is signaling here for you, you people sitting there. Something very critical for you. What is that?
To be a perfect yogi.
And, that is implied in the statement. Okay. Okay, that you can consider. Okay, next. Any idea?
Pleasure and pain are inevitable. Then only you can transcend that.
All
Unless
right. Okay, go on then. Once again, I am giving a clue. It is not in the words. We have already covered the chapter of words and have gone into the symbols, beginning with Anu identifying the sun, then Vinay talking about the seed, then Anu again talking about the root, and finally Aswati talking about this, which I reconceptualized in a positive way. Now, what are the other symbolic representations? What is the other combination you can make it?
So the clouds around.
Just reflect for one moment. Everyone has to make one more statement out of this signal structure in the slide, which are quite relevant for you. Come on. Everybody has to make one statement.